بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Right, next question. I have a lot of qada prayers to do. Huh? How do they know? I think my Samsung phone has been compromised. My secrets are out, so I don't have a lot of qada prayers, by the way, in case you're thinking. Customer. Right, so the thing is, now what should I do? Should I still be praying Taraweeh? Should I prioritize qada prayer? I mean, the rational thing here, people would say you should prioritize qada prayer. The majority of ulama have always felt that qada prayer must be made up. The exception being those who, the substantial exception being those who said, well, you don't need to make them up. Who said, well, we've got the good news and the bad news. Good news is you don't need to make them up, and the bad news is that's because you're a kafir anyway. That's like the kind of person who comes running to greet you, but when they come to greet you with a slap. So just as you get happy that, oh, all right, thanks, I don't need to make them up, they say, yeah, that's because you were a kafir anyway at the time. Right, so, but in my understanding, there is a very fringe opinion which says that qada prayers, that like prayers a person didn't pray because they were just too lazy or whatever, they weren't practicing. In my understanding, I do feel it is sufficient to just do tawbah, and that really suffices. That makes sense to me. I know that is a minority an extreme minority position, but I feel that it does. When we look at the Sharia, there isn't a single text in the Sharia that says you have to make up qada prayer. There is not a single verse in the Quran nor a single hadith that is explicit, not implicit.
Right, you're talking about qada as in qada umri, not like as in you just qada like yesterday's or today's prayer, let's say.
Right, okay, now that's a good point. Now, okay, I'll come to that. Now, I'm talking about qada as in we have like years of unprayed prayers. Okay, I don't mean by that, and I was going to touch upon that anyway, upon what is pragmatic. Okay, what is practical. So there are certain amount of prayers which a person may feel can practically be done. So, like let's say you haven't prayed yesterday's prayer, you haven't even prayed a few days' prayer. That can practically be done. It's not it's not impractical in that sense. Praying qada for like somebody says, I haven't prayed for 15 years. That now becomes impractical. Some people may do it, and I commend and applaud their commitment and determination. But I feel most people cannot do that, since most people don't even have the determination to pray 5 prayers. Now, in this situation, as Ibn Rushd al-Hafid in his Bidayat al-Mujtahid explains, when he's speaking about where are the evidences for qada prayers, and he discusses this thing in detail. Now, there are no clear evidences in the Quran or Sunnah, sarih and sahih, very clear, explicit about making up qada prayer. There is a hadith about man nama an salatin aw nasiyaha falyusalliha hina dhakaraha. Anybody who forgot or was asleep, as in oblivious to salah, like out of his control, oblivious to it, when he awakes, let him make up that prayer. When he wakes up, let him make up that prayer. Now, the thing is, okay, this is speaking about the sleeping person and the forgetful. But what about the person who's neither, who's intentionally leaving them? Now, some people will say, yeah, well, that should be attached. Because if the forgetful person is doing it, why not the one who's intentionally doing it? And there's no harm in attaching that. Hence, I would say, if you, let's say today I missed a salah because of something, and we have a hadith. Allahu Akbar. Allah, see how the daleels just come. Now there's a hadith in Abu Dawood where the Prophet ﷺ in the Battle of Khandaq, they pray all 5 prayers together because they're so preoccupied with and the Prophet ﷺ says, Mala Allahu quburahum naran, God damn these people, in other words. Those people who said, can you say God damn? Right, in other words, the Prophet said, may their graves be filled up. Like, God damn these people that they akharuna anis salah. And in some translation, akharuna anis salat al-wusta, that they made us miss our prayers, or the salat al-wusta, whatever that is, whether it's fajr or asr or whatever. But the point is that the Prophet in the hadith, he says, prayed 5 prayers together. Now, that is practical, that is doable, that can be done. The question is, what about unbearable impracticalities, like 5 years, 10 years, 1 year even? Some people will argue that that's fine, and alhamdulillah, like I said, I commend the commitment. Other people will see that as very difficult, highly unlikely. And we have the example of things like the menstruating woman, for example. She is not asked to repeat her prayers. One question is, let's say on average, if a woman's cycle is, I don't know, whether it's 6 days or 5 days or whatever it is, even if people say 8 days or 10 days, right, on average, I don't think a cycle lasts 10 days on average for people. I think probably 6 days or something. Now, that, 25 prayers, 30 prayers, over a month. If you feel the Sharia is enough to ask somebody to make up 15 years of prayers, why can't it ask people every month to just make up 25 prayers or 30 prayers? Or why can't it do that? I mean, if it has the will to ask people to make up for 25 years of prayers, then by that logic, or by that attitude is a better word, it would ask the woman to make up her prayers. Why would it show all of a sudden like unnecessary kind of like all this clemency in saying, oh, well, you don't need to make up 30 prayers. Oh, sorry, you just need to make up 35,000 or whatever they are. Like, why would it have that? That's just, the disparity between that is so huge. It doesn't make any sense. So, in my understanding, I would go with the opinion, and it is a fringe opinion, but saying that tawbah is sufficient, and the person just focuses on what is from now, from the moment they start praying, till their future. So anything they're missing in between, they do make up. But as to the years that went before, I don't feel that they're obliged to make up that. And I think another good daleel, Allah. See, the daleels just come. See what I mean? Look at that. Abu Muawiyah isn't even paying attention. The dalail are coming. That they're pouring. See, there's the famous hadith of al-musi' li salatihi, the person who comes and prays, and he isn't praying properly. And the Prophet ﷺ said, innaka lam tusalli, you haven't prayed. And he gets up and he prays, and he says, you still haven't prayed. He gets up and he prays, still haven't prayed. And then he says, but this is all I know. And the Prophet says, okay, let me show you how you pray. Now the Prophet doesn't tell him to repeat his previous prayers. Point. Allah, dalil. Allah. 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 So anyway, so that's. Say that again. No, I mean, there's nothing known, and generally the hadith say, I mean, the principle says that ta'khirul bayan an waqt al-haja la yajuz, that if something is necessary to be told there and then it cannot be delayed. And the ulama generally, whoever comments on that hadith, accept that. I mean, they interpret it differently. Some people may say, yeah, well, that's because he did his best, or whatever. But the point is that if his prayers weren't acceptable, and he wasn't asked to repeat, And if you think about it, technically, in the lifetime of the Prophet ﷺ, from salah being obligated to when this person, it had to have been less than 10 years. Had to have been, yeah? From when this person was told, from when salah was obligated, and the chances are he wasn't the first Muslim then anyway. So this person probably only had a few years of salah. The chances were anything between, well, on average, let's just say he had 5 years of salah. But for the Prophet not to ask him goes to show when people say, 25 years of salah, why don't you make up for 25 years of salah? That is way too excessive and stuff like that. In my understanding, Allahu A'lam. Deen yusr. Deen is one of ease.